Hey everyone, welcome to another video with me where I actually wanted to do something a little different today. Instead of actually going into direct car work, which I promise you the E30 is getting some car work done to it. But in this video, what I wanted to kind of discuss was actually a bit more to do with being a bit of a DIY mechanic at home. A lot of the things that I do, people get quite surprised with, being like, wow, are you an actual mechanic? Is this something you do as a full-time job and those kind of things? And no, actually. I've never actually done any form of qualifications to be a mechanic. It's just always been a hobby of mine, and I don't do this as a full-time job at the moment. This is all basically a hobby for me. I get a lot of messages on Instagram just asking me how to actually tackle certain bits and pieces. So what I wanted to focus on in this video was actually more to do with what does it take to be able to do all these things on your own. Everyone, links for all the items that I'm going to be discussing today will be in the description below. So make sure you check them out if there is anything that sticks out to you. This might actually help someone who's looking to become a mechanic or looking to do something part-time on the side, just a little bit and pieces on their own. So without further ado, I'm going to go through a list of bits and pieces that I think will be helpful for anyone to have. This basically means you'll be able to tackle near enough every DIY job on your car, and be able to have the confidence and comfort of knowing you won't need to rush out to quickly buy a tool or something like that. Majority of the bits and pieces you will need are basically going to be here. If you do have a job specific tool that you do need, then that unfortunately is something that you're just going to have to look into. But these things are pretty much universal. And to start off with is basically what's behind me. So behind me, you see how I've got my Halfords tool sets set up. You don't need to do that. That's just something that I've done to utilize a bit more space in my garage. But one of these kits will save you a lot of money and investments into trying to find other bits and pieces, and keeps everything organized, which is a major thing. You know, I've not always been the best in terms of organization in the past, but it's something that I am trying to develop on in the future. This is the 200 piece Halfords set that I got recently. The one over here I think was like 150 set. This is quite an old one, and this one actually lasted me majority of working on all of my cars, from my E30 and all the other bits and pieces of projects that I've had. This kit here is great because if you go to Halfords, especially in the UK, you have a lifetime warranty, and I believe the actual tools, really good quality. They don't really break that often, and if they do, you can just go into your local Halfords. Ideally keep your receipt with you, but if you don't have your receipt, you know, have a conversation with someone and just express to them that, look, you know what, I've had this for a while, it's gotten broken, can you please get it changed over? And they instantly change it over for you with the like for like item. The one that I went for also has ratchet spanners, which is great for helping out with certain awkward areas. Instead of having to always take off the spanner and put it back in, you've just got this with a ratchet end. You put that ratchet end on and you'll be able to loosen everything. You got a good breaker bar over there with all the other assortments, and you got your Torx bits and those kind of things. So one of these kits from Halfords is really going to help you in terms of tackling anything in the garage. Up next is a floor jack. One of these things is practically the next big must. Anything that you're going to do in terms of suspension work, wheels, you know, getting underneath the car, you're going to need one of these. But along with one of these, you're going to need a set of jack stands. I would tell everyone, do not just jack the car up and think that that's safe, because one, if you didn't jack the car up in the perfect way, or if the floor is slightly uneven, or if you push the car a little bit too much, you don't want to have any movement or anything in place. These are basically holding the car up with a hydraulic. If it's an older jack and you've been using it for a while and that hydraulic just gets weaker and weaker, then you're in essence increasing the risk of you getting hurt underneath the car. So putting it on jack stands just means that you're just going to be that much safer, and you'll be able to work in your comfort knowing that the car shouldn't really move. Another good little tool is a good torch. One of these, I can't remember exactly how much this is, but it's really helpful, especially if you're in a place where there's not a lot of great lighting, or even if you're underneath the car. One of these lights, what's great is you can use just the little torch bit here, or you can open it up and you can use one half of it, which if I get it open, so there you go, that half will just light up. So you can just light it towards something, or you can put it this way, and then you can power up both and then you can light up quite a large amount of area. This is actually quite a bright light. It's helped me out in so many occasions, so it's definitely something that I think anyone who's a DIY worker on their cars would definitely benefit from. Or you can also get those ones that go on top of your head and you can wear them as like a headband, just giving you a bit more light as to where you're working. Both of them are great. I've not really liked having one of those ones on my head in the past. It's just not something that I've ever done. But one of these is great because you just want to set the light up. You'll be able to leave it there while you try working around everything. Whereas the other one is only going to focus on where you're looking at that time. So let's just say you're underneath a car and you're trying to reach up for something. You can't exactly see it with your head perfectly. The light will be able to just shine light over there, whilst your head one wouldn't actually be that great for it. So another tool that I would recommend getting for your garage is something that I got off eBay, but believe it or not, is actually one of the best little investments I've got recently. I've always used little trim removal tools in the past to kind of get behind door cards and, you know, underneath plastics inside of a car. But this set that I've got, which I'll just show you all now, is amazing. It's got practically all the trim removal normal bits that you would be looking for. But this thing saves you so much time and genuinely saves your fingers. When you're using a trim removal to, like, for example, pull apart a door card off a car, you kind of have to wedge it in and then pull with your hand to get the door card to release from all the clips. But with this, you just slide it in and then you just squeeze it and it just pops those clips loose, and you're able to just speed up your efficiency a lot. You can use it on loads of other clips around the actual interior trim. It's really good tool. Anyone who works on anything to do with interiors, I'd highly recommend getting something like that. Getting a good soldering gun. Now, I've got a couple of old soldering guns, but they're all kind of meeting their end of their life now. This one I've just picked up from eBay recently. Getting a good soldering gun then allows you to tackle a lot of electrical work. And when it comes to electrical work, it is something that I've gotten into a bit more recently, and I feel like a lot of other bits and pieces that people might want to try. It doesn't even need to just be car related. It could be related to a lot of other things, anything electronics. It's a great little tool to have in your garage, fairly inexpensive, and it'll open your scope to a lot of other things that you can actually try and get into. But if you are going to be dealing with electronics, then I'd also recommend getting a little voltmeter. Now, the benefits of having a voltmeter is you'll be able to test bits and pieces on your car if they are working or not by going into the continuity setting on them, or you can actually find live and earth points around the car by clicking it to show you volts. Now, those are the two bits that I've really utilized from this, but I'm sure that there is loads of other bits and pieces that you can do with these. But those two bits alone, very important when you're working on a car, and it's something that will mean that you kind of run a lot less risk when you're actually playing around with any wiring or electronics, or, like I said, fault finding on certain items or parts on the car, especially when it comes to the interior. One of these, they're also good to see how your battery is performing, if your battery is low on voltage, and also how your alternator is working. Because if your car's running at a low voltage while it's turned on, then this will show that it's not running at the optimum setting. So again, fairly inexpensive, but it's a great tool to have whilst in the garage. Another great little tool to invest in is a good Dremel. Now, Dremel is gonna be helpful with a lot of custom work that you might want to do in terms of fitting bodywork, or, you know, changing little bits and pieces over in your interior. It's really helpful. Again, it's very universal for the applications you can use it for, because you can put the little sanding blocks on them, those kind of bits and pieces. Like I said, a very good little handy tool to use in the garage. Having a good screwdriver set is also going to be great. It's important to have just for the little bits and pieces. You do have a lot of screwdriver pieces with the Halfords toolkits that you can get, but you have to attach them onto other little bits. I just feel like getting something like this is much easier, simpler. You got better reach with some of the larger ones where you can obviously put it through a gap that big. So something like that, really good. But that one kind of everyone does know about. But having a little screwdriver set like this is gonna be really helpful. This set is really good for small electrical work. You got all the little bits and pieces. I'll do a little close up on that in a bit. But when it comes to removing any bits and pieces on your interior, especially some of the electrical stuff behind the actual dashboard, or it's practically got all the little bits for it. So that is great to have. It's very well utilized when you do have it, because you can get into so many little bits and pieces that you didn't think you could have. Another one I'd highly recommend getting a good version of is a torque wrench. Now, something like this means that you'll be able to torque bits and pieces directly to the correct spec. Why is that important? Well, if you're going to be dealing with your wheels and those kind of things, you need to make sure you torque them to the right spec. Otherwise, you can over torque them, and also if you under torque them, that means your bolts can come loose. So you don't want to do that. Torque wrench like this, not even just for your wheels, but other bits and pieces that you're doing around the car, really helpful. Having two of these, maybe one for a lower spec, would be good, but I kind of feel like the larger one's more important. The lower the torque spec, unless it's something specific like an engine part or something like that, I kind of feel like most of the things, if it's a lower spec than what this can go to, hand tightening it and to the right feel is probably more than enough. But again, you got to judge that carefully on where you're applying that. But yeah, that kind of wraps up this video for some of the necessary tools that I feel are really good to have in the garage. I'll leave the actual total here now on how much that all is. I'll be honest with you, it's off the top of my head, I'm going to say it's all about £500 or so now. With the money invested in all these tools means that you can tackle a lot of the things. I feel like with the way the world is right now, a lot of people have a lot of free time and they can actually tackle a lot of these things themselves. But yeah, this video was kind of, again, it was just something that I wanted to put together on little bits and pieces. I feel like you really will be able to tackle any project on any car. As long as it's not too specific, like I said earlier, as long as it's not a specific tool required for that exact change that you're doing or repair that you're doing, then all of this is gonna literally mean that you probably won't ever need to go to a garage again. You can just follow how-to tutorials online and be able to follow those along. You'll be able to learn a huge amount more as well, not just about your cars, but also about yourself, and feel that level of accomplishment when you do manage to fix something or get something done on your own car. It's really, really, really rewarding. I've been through the trial and error of buying loads of tools, bits and pieces here and there, and the more tools you have, genuinely, the better it is. But if I was to go back again and just start off with the way that I have and the things that I've mentioned, it would have saved me money overall as well. Buy accordingly to what your funds can attain, but as well as what you feel like you will be tackling with the cars. And when you do buy some of these bits and pieces, try to buy the setups that I'm saying, because the more complete the package, the less likely you're going to need to buy something in the future. And that's the important thing. Return on your investment is really important, and you want to feel like if you buy something, you've got the most out of it, and you won't need to keep adding bits and pieces, because that's when it gets a lot more expensive. If this video has encouraged you in any way to get involved in your cars, if you did find this entertaining at all, then please give it a thumbs up. That's always appreciated. Consider subscribing to see more from me in terms of the work that I do on my cars, and as well as some how-tos that I come out with on how to do bits and pieces to your cars. And yeah, any other comments will be really appreciated. I know I'm not a professional, but I am someone who does do a huge amount to their own cars themselves, and you just live and you learn and you keep developing from there. So like I said, 2021, hopefully this is a great year for you all. This might be the year for you to get started on working on your own cars. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you all in the next video. So for now, peace out, keep safe, and I'll see you later. Bye.